And we are back! Before the break, we learned about the differences between icebergs and sea ice. How sea ice is made of salt water and contains brine channels with lots of tiny organisms that live inside. And icebergs are solid ice, made from fresh water on land. Dr. Ursula Maritimus here says that sea ice is great. But our next guest has other ideas. You fell in love with her on social media, and now she is #1 on the Arctic music charts. It's Ora Oshun!
Thank you.
So Ora, let's get right down to it. How do you really feel about sea ice?
Sea ice? Ugh. I believe my song, downloadable on iTunes, says it all. Hit it, maestro.
Sea ice, not nice, stealing from my fresh slice of ring-tail dinner. Daytime, they hide, lounging on the top side. My tummy gets thinner. If I could only melt it down, I'd have a feast, I'd go to town.
Thank you for that, performance. So, Dr. Maritimus, would you like to respond?
I can say a few more things. Firstly, Ora is right.
Yeah, exactly.
Please, let me finish. Ora is right that sea ice can get in the way for some marine creatures, but for many others, it is a vital platform to escape predators, rest, hunt, etc. And secondly, and most importantly, we have to consider the microscopic ecosystem living in and on the sea ice. Both you and I need them.
What? Those tiny gross things? No, I most certainly do not.
I have 2 words for you. Food web.
Oh, snap. Care to elaborate?
Oh, yes, of course. A food web is a model of an ecosystem.
Know what a food web is. Orca eats walrus, walrus eats clam, clam eats tiny things or whatever.
That is one food chain within the larger food web, but you get the idea. When we connect various food chains together, we get an interlocking food web that shows us how matter and energy move throughout the ecosystem as one organism eats another.
Delicious.
And as it turns out, many of those microscopic organisms in the sea ice play the integral role of transforming the sun's energy into food, which then...
Okay, that's nice, I guess. But other creatures do that too, like phytoplankton that live in the water. And besides, the Arctic food web, as we all know, is largely supported by the benthos. Yeah, if we have our benthic creatures, we'll be fine.
Excuse me, benthos?
Oh, the benthos.
Yeah, I got this one. The word benthos refers to the creatures that live on or in the seafloor, like clams, brittle stars, and snails, to name a few.
You are correct that the benthos is important.
Great!
But
So then, explain to me how those things way up in the sea ice are connected to the creatures all the way down on the seafloor.
Oh, good question.
that's simple. The benthic creatures eat them when the sea ice melts and the microorganisms sink to the seafloor.
And you know all this how? How does a land dweller like yourself know what these benthic creatures eat?
As land dwellers, it is difficult to observe the benthos and observe what creatures are eating, especially tiny creatures.
Yeah, like I said.
So, instead, we bring the benthos to us by collecting samples of the seafloor and its inhabitants. And with modern lab analyses, we now see that the sea ice organisms are absolutely vital to the diets of many of the benthic creatures we collect, and thus much of the Arctic food web.
Now that is quite neat.
And that's not even the whole story. In addition to these findings, the humans indigenous to the Arctic have a record of their own observations of various creatures' diets and behaviors for much, much longer than we have been studying them. when we combine all of our observations together, we can better understand how the Arctic ecosystem works and how it is changing.
The Arctic has been changing a lot in the past decades, hasn't it?
It has. The Arctic is changing in many ways, and the loss of sea ice is one of those major changes. Together, we can already see that the food web, tightly linked to the sea ice and sea ice organisms, is weakening. Access to traditional prey, hunting grounds, and nurseries is becoming more and more difficult. Soon, even some of your prey will be affected, Ora.
Well, I suppose I have noticed changes. And truly, I only want what any good matriarch wants, a good life for my children. I thought that less sea ice would help them, but maybe having sea ice and those little sea ice organisms would actually be an advantage. So then...
Sea ice is nice, it provides my fresh slice. Yeah, of ring seal dinner. I know if it goes, I'll never eat again, so I want it to stay here. Can someone change this chemistry so Arctic waters stay icy?
That's totally at the top of the charts.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, there you have it. In an amazing turn of events, even Ora Oshun agrees that sea ice is actually quite nice.